Welcome to Chronic Pain with Susie Wolf. I'm Susie Wolf. Today we are going to talk about depression and chronic pain and illness and how the two go together. Stick around, it's an important topic. Before we get started, I would like you to please smash that like button and show us that you care. And if you haven't done so yet, please hit that red subscribe button. If you hit the bell next to the red subscribe button, then you'll be notified when I post a video. I always post on Tuesdays, but the time can be very unpredictable. I also wanted to explain that my rehearsal time was truncated this week, and therefore I have notes in front of me that you may see me refer to from time to time, which is also why I have on reading glasses. As most of you know, I lived in Dallas when I got sick, and I was not remotely depressed. I was just going along believing that eventually the right doctor would run the right test and would say, this is what's wrong with you, and cure it. And that's how I felt. Even when I had one doctor over-medicate me with antipsychotic medication, I still was a pretty happy zombie because I felt like whatever he was doing was in my best interest. I was not depressed because I had one thing: denial. Bet you thought I was gonna say hope. But no, I was definitely in denial. I just always believed that things were going to turn out fine. When I did move to Iowa, I went from a very cute apartment to a bedroom in my mother's house. This was my bedroom, my living room, my office, and my dining room. And while none of my furniture was crammed in there, my TV was, my bed was, my computer desk was, or a bed was, and it was culture shock, to say the least. Worst of all was that I had to share a bathroom, which I had not done for years, even with roommates. And those of you that saw last week's video know that I'm OCD and how hard that was for me. I don't even share a bathroom with my husband. I did have a few friends who still lived here in town where I live now. My best friend would stop by every once in a while, but it got too hard for her to have conversations with me in my drug-addled state, and visits from other friends were few and far between. When I lived in Texas, first off, I lived in Texas. Not bad. And other than that, I had friends, a social life, my sister, and most importantly, my niece and nephew. Also, the friend that ended up calling my mom and I were actually very close. When I moved to Iowa, I mourned our companionship and our bond. Even though we still spoke regularly, it just wasn't the same. And just a few weeks after I moved to Iowa, my maternal grandmother passed away. And she had helped raise me and make she was part of why I was and am who I am. So I was hit by one sad thing after another, and they just kept getting worse and worse and worse. I had no driver's license because I had a seizure while I was driving. Now, I don't have seizures now. It turned out to be because I stopped taking the antipsychotics cold turkey, and you're not supposed to do that. And I can and soon will be getting my driver's license again, but at the time I thought it was gone forever. And what I used to do to handle stress or sadness or any of those things was go for a drive, and I couldn't even do that. As I mentioned, the cabin fever was getting overwhelming. All I did was watch TV and sleep. Even when my mother would come in to visit with me, we had gotten into the habit of watching a TV show together rather than actually talking, because it was just, I wasn't interested in talking. I wasn't interested in interacting. I slept all the time, which I blamed on the medication. But the truth is, when I was awake, life was just too hard. Eventually, my doctor sent me to see a psychiatrist, and he didn't think I needed therapy or any of those things. Not that I wouldn't have done them if he had suggested them, but he did think I needed an antidepressant. I told him I can't take those. I've had doctors use antidepressants to try and treat my pain, and I've always had a very bad reaction to them. And he pretty much swore to me that I could take this one, that it was new, it was different, and it did not cause those reactions. And he finally talked me into it, and I agreed to it, and I started taking Lexapro. It worked. After a few weeks, I began to crave human interaction again. I got on Facebook and got in touch with friends from college, friends from high school. Started talking to some of them on the phone. After a little while interacting with people on Facebook and talking to some people on the phone, I decided I wanted actual, real companionship. I wanted someone to spend some time with. I wasn't really looking for a boyfriend. I really was just looking for a companion, a friend, someone to hang out with, and then go to the movies with, and then order pizza with, that kind of stuff. And so I put a profile on plentyoffish.com saying just that. The first day I opened it up, I was amazed at how many people had sent me messages. Unfortunately, all the messages were telling me what times they were available, what times their apartments would be empty, what times their wives would be out of town, and all promising to rock my world. This was not what I expected, and it certainly wasn't what I wanted. And I was about to give up until I saw a profile that interested me, and I sent him a message, and that message is now my husband of 8 years, because he friended me on Facebook that night, and I would say the rest is history, but it's actually a pretty funny story, and maybe someday I'll get to tell it on here. The point is that he started coming over, and we started spending time together in person, and we would talk at my house or on Facebook, and we would talk late into the night sometimes, and we got to know each other, and it was for the first time, I saw myself letting someone in again. We had developed a relationship, something that never would have been possible if I had not agreed to that antidepressant. Do you feel trapped? Do you not enjoy things the way that you used to? Do you find yourself distancing yourself from your family and friends, maybe even your kids? Do you find yourself saying no more and more to invitations, whether it's to dinner or to a party? Do you use your chronic pain and illness as an excuse to not do things and not go places? Do you use it as an excuse to isolate yourself? Do you sleep way too much or way too little? This is just a small sampling of the questions you should be asking yourself to be real with yourself about whether you are facing depression brought on by your chronic pain or illness. Someone else had to notice in me. Maybe you need to look at your significant other in the eye or a good friend and say, do you think I'm depressed? Do you think I need help? And really listen to what they say. If you feel like the answer is yes, you might need help, then talk to your doctor or find a psychiatrist or even just call a hotline. Do something. There are answers out there. You do not need to feel this way forever. I'm off Lexapro now. I took it for about 6 months. Turns out all I needed was a kick in the butt. But there's nothing wrong with having to take it for years or even the rest of your life. I have to take a pill once a day to help treat my anxiety. I hope someday I can stop taking that pill. But if I have to stay on it for the rest of my life to control my anxiety, then that's exactly what I'll do. And I won't be ashamed of it. Next week, we're going to talk about pets and how they can help with depression and anxiety and even just companionship if you're alone. Thank you so much for joining me, and I'll see you next week.